Meeting of PAC to order. Roll call. We'd like to make welcome to the newest member of PAC, and that's Niven McKinnon. Welcome aboard, sir. Additions, deletions, and/or approval of the agenda.
I would move that the agenda be approved as circulated.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Question? All in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. Planning and Development July report.
So, because of this presentation tonight, I've switched some things.
Excuse me, Sean, just a second. Additions, deletions, and/or approval, declarations of a conflict of interest. That's where we are. I struck them off. Approval of the minutes of July 17th.
I'd move to approve the minutes of July 17th as presented.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Question? All
Question.
those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. Planning and Development July report. Mr. Day. No.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've shifted things around a little bit because of the gentleman here who wished to make a presentation tonight.
I think the chair has a different agenda.
There's an extra name. This might help.
Okay. All right. That'd be different then. Let's stroke them
So,
off.
we actually have what I'm calling right now the Shaw Drummond Compact Home Proposal. And I'm guessing that based upon that laptop, you have a presentation? Sure. Here's a mic, Dean.
If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself for so the residents know
Sure.
who you are.
Yeah, I'm Dean Robertson. I'm the president and CEO of the Shaw Group. And we've got operations around the Maritime provinces and spending a lot of time on housing. We're 163 years old, but for at least the last 70, 75 years. And Glenn's really going to be talking about our latest division, which is really focused on how do we bring the price of housing down. So, and we really appreciate the opportunity to come and present. Westville feels like hometown to Glenn and I. We've had so many meals at Tim Hortons over the last 2 years. Lenny and Scott have made time for us in the council over the last year and a half, I think, since we've been coming. So it does feel like home for us. So we're excited to actually be able to do something here in Westville. We think there's a great sort of project that we can be working on together, and we appreciate all the time that your staff and Sean, you've been spending with our planners and Glenn over the last number of months. And so Glenn can take it from there, maybe get into the bit of the details of what we're up to, but we're excited to get going. This is the time of year when we get a little bit fidgety because if we're going to do anything, we got to get sort of shovels in the ground and get it done so we can get stuff before it frees up. And if not, we almost waste a year. So there's a couple of projects that Glenn is sort of pushing us all on to get done, and this is one of those ones that it'd be nice to get in the ground this year if we can to get some homes going. And so appreciate your time for us, and I think the new member of your team is going to be approving most things tonight, so we appreciate that.
No, but it will shortly.
I'm just going to emphasize again to make sure that that mic is close. I've had several people complain that presentations are not being heard from that position with that mic. So let's see if we can correct that tonight.
Especially when you're tall.
Yeah, outdoor voice.
Outdoor voice,
I
yeah.
always want to hold it up like this.
Yeah, Glenn, if you just give me a second. So, Mr. Chair, if I could have just a
Sure.
second
By all means.
to kind of set a little bit of context here. As Dean was saying, I'm not. Now I'm on. As Dean was saying, we've been, staff have been working with Glenn and the rest of Dean's staff over the last little while to you know, a number of months, actually, many months, have been discussing back and forth various permutations of development in Westville with, that Shaw might undertake. And we've progressed a long ways. I think it's important for council, or for PAC, I mean, to understand that notwithstanding all the discussions we've been having, it's only been in about the last week, I guess, that we've had actual paper to review. And so there are still a couple of places where there are, we haven't kind of nailed quite down, we haven't got onto paper what we've already talked about. And so it may seem as if there are actual holes in the, you know, the approach, but it's the fact that we've reached what I think is agreement. We just haven't been able to transfer it to paper yet. And that will occur over the next few days or week or whatever it takes, so that by the time we go to the next step in the approval process, it'll all be taken care of. But I just wanted to kind of level set that, your expectations about how in order the paper is.
Okay. Do you think you can hear me on this? Or do I need to get closer?
About there.
About there, okay.
Yeah.
I'll get shorter. So my name is Glenn Hardy with the Shaw Group, and working on housing outside of HRM. And Stephanie Ma has really been driving this, our planner from the Shaw Group for the last while, to show you how important she is. She couldn't be here tonight, so she sent the two of us to try to hold up
So the CEO and the VP.
yeah, see if we can pull this together. And she gave me, I think, 2 slides to come with. She shouldn't have did that because Dean and I went and added 6 more just prior to. So we've already, when we tell her when she gets back, she's not gonna be very happy with us. This is exciting, and so thank you, council, or thank you the PAC committee, and to the chair, and then I guess the community members that put your time in on this as well. Thank you. So I want to talk about Drummond Road, and what I want to start with is really about 1.5 years ago, Dean and I showed up here one night talking to the PAC committee at the time, and this was one of the early versions of what we were pitching at the time, trying to paint a picture to see about how to bring the cost of housing down so that the average Nova Scotian, the average community member in Westville could afford to a home, to be able to, we all know the challenges of affordability, like that's in the media every day. So this was our first go around, and we kind of trying to paint a picture. It was a very early version of what we call pocket or cluster communities, and how the lands over here across the road on the old Pioneer coal lands. When we drove by, we saw it, we said, this is very exciting, thought it was a great opportunity. A lot of water under the bridge, trying to learn about the land since then. And we've spent, we probably have accumulated between some testing that we've also done co-shared with Pioneer Coal, or Nova, I call them. We spent a fair bit of money trying to sort of make sure that the lands are from a subsidence point of view, are stable. We've engaged Stantec to do a lot of that work, and there's a little more to do, but that's mostly on the backside. But where we're talking about tonight, very comfortable with that, other than maybe some test pit holes with an excavator just prior to, as part of a due diligence. So, but anyway, this is where we started 1.5 years ago. So a lot of work has gone on since then. I want to tell you what we've been doing a little bit in the last 1.5 years ourselves, and things we've been moving along very quickly. Last fall, we jumped in with both feet, and we began with the Cody Place Phase 2. Probably many of you have driven by and seen what's behind the old Terra Motel. That was a pocket community put in there. We put 7 modular units, 20 doors on a less than 1 acre lot in there. Been handed over to those folks about 2 weeks ago. So that's been completed. Very successful. I think they have it 80% full at this time. We just this afternoon we learned so. We've also been in Cumberland County and in Amherst. We've been building stick-built homes. We started pouring slabs about November of last year. These homes are actually for sale. We've actually sold them. Sold the one on the left in this image here. We've also working on a more master plan project, which it sort of speaks to more what we started with last year in Amherst. And what's interesting on this here, we can see up here, what you see is a variety of units from modular, stick-built, and then these ones across the front are very similar to what we're going to be talking about on Drummond Street here. So it just shows within a community you have a variety of homes, variety of sizes, 1 and 2 bedroom, variety of footprints, and they come in a variety of price points. Also working with the municipality of Colchester and DeBert, another very similar project. You can't see it here in the washout, but 6 homes here on Dieppe Avenue. Very similar look that we're going to be talking about here today. And we have broke ground there. Those homes will be going in on, the first ones arrive on September the 4th. And again, as Dean said, we want to make hay when the sun shines and get them in and get them to market. In fact, I spent this afternoon with Kohler Windows, and they have several hundred employees there. And what we said to them was, maybe what we did, set up an arrangement where you can offer this to your employees before it hits the market and get maybe a little bit of a preferred deal. And so employers are looking for places for their employees to live. And so here's an opportunity for them to live in a 576 square foot 2-bedroom home, and very affordable, sub $200,000. The next phase that we're looking to move from the Cody project is a project in Spring Hill, also with the municipality of Cumberland, and again, a modular rental affordable play. So we're looking to move this one along very much at the same pace we're looking to move this one we're talking about here tonight along. So we got a lot of projects that are moving along at this pace. Here's where we are. We're sitting right here in this building upstairs, and right across the way is my snip and clip capabilities you see here placed where I'm placed the homes. What it looks like, that's pretty close to scale. This is the imagery. I think there's been a ton of work. I think some feedback from last time that Stephanie presented to the group about the look and feel and trying to make it aesthetically pleasing. And so we're trying to hit affordability. We're trying to make sure that people can get into these homes, and then we're also trying to make sure that it looks very attractive in a place you want to live. We have some experience with a pocket community that Dean would have participated in Pubnico. We have one we experienced over in New Glasgow and several others. So I'll take some of those learnings. So what you see, some of the differentials here is the aesthetics of the exterior. You see different styles. You see a covered deck on this one here with a side exit. You see a pergola style here. It's hard to see, but it's a pergola style with a front exit, and then you see one that doesn't have any cover at all. So given some sort of aesthetic look in these homes. We want to be in the sub $200,000 range with these, and even well under if we can be. But that's what we're working through now with the civil work. And but what we're trying to do is get the rights to the land here to be able to develop this, and we want to be breaking ground for the 1st of October, and we would see units rolling in probably by 1st of December would be my best case on that. Then we put them together, assemble them, and bring them to the market. And what we're really trying to do is gain momentum on this play so that we can see the absorption, we can see how they're received, get feedback, bit of a test play to see how they're received in the market. And then that allows us then to go back to the original drawing, which is more of a master plan, and keep rolling. We want to make sure that our first play is at the affordable point that attracts people to become part of this. I think it's very, very attractive from the standpoint, just how close you are to your center here and all the amenities you have in this building. But if we miss the mark and it goes stagnant, it goes slow, because everything's riskier on this, is then if you miss it, then it becomes stagnant, and then it doesn't drive that momentum to go to the next stage. So that's why we're so focused on making sure we provide something at the right price point. So this is just another image of the same home with a bit of the floor plan. Hard to see on this screen here, some of the interior. And Dean, anything you want to fill in some gaps?
No, I think the only.
Do you want to put
Sorry. I think the only thing for me, and Glenn and I talk about this a lot, my experience, I used to run Prestige. My experience running Prestige and at the Shaw Group is the common mistake we always make is when we put spec homes in and they're too high for the market and things slow and people, you know, you sit on them for months and months and months and finally you keep on reducing the price, you lose money on them, and everyone says, no more of that. So that's the danger. So in the communities that some of the communities that Glenn's talking about, we want to make sure that we go in, we hit the right price point, because if it's too slow, then we're not going to have any support back home. And you know, the prices that Glenn's talking about, that's just what the average Nova Scotian can afford. You know, if you're making around $65,000 to $75,000, you can afford something between 150 and 200,000. And so, so if you're making below average, even these prices aren't in your range. So we're really trying to make sure that we hit the right price point at this first phase. And if it does, and we're going to learn a lot about the market as well. And then we can sort of share a lot of information with this group on what's that next phase look like. Can we mix it up a bit more? Do we need to bring the price point down even more? Can we bring it up? Can we have a little different style? This first one, we're going to learn a lot. The one thing I know for sure is we don't know how the market's going to respond. That I know for sure. But we're going to learn a lot, and we're really open to sharing all the data that we get on what we're seeing in the market, and whether it fits, you know, what we're trying to do here or other people that are building. You'll have that information to sort of share around amongst yourselves and with others. So, anyways, we're excited to get going, test the market. But I think we constantly talk about we got to do everything we can to keep on pulling the costs out, because if it's so easy to add costs in, but we only have one sort of chance to really hit it off with this first phase, I think. So I'm a bit of I'm from Thorburn, so I'm I always sort of watching cost, and I think this one's every community we're in. I think the first phase is key, that we watch the cost going in. So, anyways, that's anything else, Glenn? Good.
Dean, do you mind if I ask a couple?
Sure.
Can I borrow your mic?
Sure.
So two things. This plan isn't the most recent plan. It doesn't show, for example, the semi-detached units, which are a nice addition to the plan in terms of variability of the streetscape. But it also gives you a different kind of product. And one of the things that we've tried to do, Stephanie and I, on this, is not to pin this project just to one look or one set of houses.
Yeah.
We're allowing it to be developed kind of like a regular subdivision, in that you can put anything in there that's allowed in the zone. So you could pivot. For instance, if you find that people want something bigger or more, you will have the opportunity to pivot very quickly. I just worry that you would want to try to put all 10 in right away, and then you wouldn't have that opportunity. So that's one thing I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
The other one that I asked about, and she said, Stephanie said that it wasn't being considered currently, but could be put on the table. One of the units that was shown in a more recent plan, I didn't know if it was just a very long mini home style unit, or if it was a unit that had a small accessory, an ADU at the rear. I know I personally like to buy places that have an apartment, because it allows me to have a bigger property. It helps me have a lower mortgage. And that's also something that we're enabling through the DEA. And I wonder if you could just speak to that, about whether you see that being a possibility, because I know you have models that can do that, where they can have, for example, a bigger one bedroom at the front, and then a small, perhaps a studio space at the rear.
Yeah. So we definitely have those designs. One place we have them is down in Pubnico. Your question is very timely because I was on my way down today. I was talking to the department, and they have Department of Housing, and they have this grant for backyard suites and other suites, so up to $40,000. But the homeowner has to. It can't be a developer, but it can be the homeowner. So if someone pre-orders, says I want a home, and can you add a suite on the back, which we can, then they can apply to get a loan or a grant actually to lower the cost. So she was going to check on some details, but she thinks that's possible. And I agree with you. I think it's a good option. If someone's got, parents or whatever, and they want to have them closer, a mom or dad, I think it's a great option. So, and I think that grant really helps that homeowner.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So, but it's got to be built in up front. We've done a little bit of work. If you build a suite and you already have your home, the cost is way too much.
Right.
If you're going to find the well, and, tap into the water and the septic and build something separate, the cost is way too much. So, but building it up front makes a lot of sense. So I think Glenn and I were talking about that earlier today. I think that's definitely possible. Yeah, so I think our plan is to start with 4
Okay.
and get a good read for the market, and then go from there. But try to get 4 in right away, and then we can start talking to people and find out what's the real need. You may want to talk about your experience in Amherst, but some of the homes that we built up there had a lot of people through, so you get a really good reaction of the market. How many people really want to buy a home? How many people really want to rent? What's the price point? And then when people start really sort of parting with their money, how many people really want to part with their money for that price? So I think having 4 will tell us a little bit about the market, and then if we have some flexibility for the rest of it, that's great.
Would those first 4 be of a different plan? As far as floor plan goes, size, outside look, would they be varied?
I think our recommendation would be very similar to what Glenn had there at the start. Just to we get enough open houses and enough people through the door, then we can start to sort of see what the market is.
Mr.
People will tell you what they're looking for, obviously, right? And you'll have a better sense once you get a few of them there. That's my take on it.
Mr. Chair, the last thing that we would want to do is to hold us up in any way, but I was really excited about the new mix that had come out, the new diagram.
Yeah, I wonder if we can flip
which,
that up.
was quite exciting because it is it's mixing it. It's not units looking basically all the same, so though you are talking about some variations, but these are actually variations in relationship to driveways and so on.
Setbacks are different.
This is
Yeah.
the
That-
renderings that
that's
show
that's
the variety.
a different mix altogether, and that's what I thought we were going to hear tonight, was that mix, but
Yeah. So Glenn, do you why don't you speak to this? But I wonder if this is a 4-plex. Or is that a duplex?
that was so exciting to see
Or
to see that
semi-detached,
mix.
So
Yeah.
they can be sold individually, even though they have the common wall.
Yeah.
So I think that the strategy is here, and Stephanie showed me this once, to show me that she had shown what some variety was, but the one I showed there on the thing was sort of the test model to see, and I think we put, like I said, Dean said 4 to 6. I think you get feedback from the market, and then you decide where to go from there. You get the absorption, and so it's all about price point and the standardization of doing the same thing is where you keep that price or cost down. Once you start doing this, every one is a unique unit, and the cost is going to start to climb. So I think the ask here tonight is if we can move forward with the 10 unit as being that box of, and if we do the first 4 to 6 and we want to change something as suggested sort of, the last couple, as long as the zoning allows that with more density or a, what do they call them, something suites? Backyard suites? Backyard suites? Yeah, then we can do that. That makes them even stronger, and we like that. But I think they have to be pre-purchased, and we have to get the civil work done. The way you get the cost down is get the civil work done early on, and so that they're set for that. So, yeah. So I hear what you're saying, but we're hoping the other acreage is where we start diversifying and trying different things. I think.
It will tell a very different story if all of those units are more or less the same, irrespective of changes to decks and things like that in color. But if they're all basically the same box all the way around, that's a very different story than the more mixed version is. The more mixed version kind of presents a more organic thing, showing different groups of people living together in the same community, as opposed to something that looks like only one group is going to live there. And I wonder if that is going to fare well down the road as you try to diversify. If you're already suggesting we're only going to have one group of people living in this development, what is the messaging that goes out as a consequence of that? So that's just something to consider. Dean, if I may, I think it was it in Amherst that you're doing rental with this style, or somewhere you mentioned that you're doing some rental?
So doing both. So the Amherst project is going to be a mix of ownership and rental.
Right.
Right in the same community.
Right, okay.
It's going to be 6 people side by side. The way we're moving forward with the one in Cumberland County in Spring Hill, very early stage, we're kind of at the same stage. We're going to expedite the process, and that will probably be rental. Yeah. Whereas
And-
this project we're proposing here would be ownership.
All ownership.
Yeah.
Is,
Well,
is-
at least this first 10
okay.
units.
I just wondered if there's some advantage to having a mix of ownership and rented.
We're always questioning the numbers on the rental. And I think it needs to be a fourplex, because then there's no HST. Because I think the only way that rentals work now, whether it's in Halifax or in the country, is costs have gone up so much that if you don't take the HST off, then it doesn't make sense for a developer to build them at all. So I think it'd have to be a fourplex. And that's why when I was looking at that one,
Right.
I was thinking that would probably only work if it's a fourplex, but then you need someone to buy it regular. So that would be where I'd be a little bit nervous about finding someone to buy that at the start. Maybe down the road, once we prove the market and so on, then I think we could look at playing with some fourplexes and some rentals and some of that. But it's tough with the way that interest rates are, and especially the cost to build, to make rentals. We do a fair bit of rentals in Halifax, and even those are super tough, even when you're charging $2,500 and $2,000 a month. Those are marginal at best. Yeah. The costs have gone up so much. So, but I think it's a possibility here, and I think that's what we learned up in Amherst when we had a home for sale. I think on your count, maybe 2/3 of them are looking for rental.
Yeah, so we created a website called shawmodelhomes.ca where the stick-built home I showed was there. We had in about 3 weeks or 4 weeks, 180 hits, 2 to 1, so 2/3 of it was rental, 1/3 was ownership. Put an open house out for a few days. I think we had about 40 so people showed up. 98% of it was there for ownership. That was invited for that. It was a sell, so the renters didn't come. And Look, a variety, like aging downsizers, first-time home buyers, you name it. People there to represent, their parents want to move back and they're looking for a place where to live. And at the time, I would have thought we would have had an offer, maybe half a dozen offers, like, you know, we put it sort of a timeline of a competitive situation. Didn't get any offers on the home, and it was at an asking price of $270,000. So, and I think it was as much to do with the fact that the competitive nature of, say, a 2-week window, people being ready to buy and move wasn't there. So we handed it to we handed 3 or 4 homes to the local realtor, and the first weekend he had 2 people interested in the home, one bought, full ask, walked away at the home. So.
It may be unfortunate that we had even seen this new mix, because
Yeah.
that, in my case, got me very excited. I mean, I'm pleased with what you're trying to do and we're trying to do initially, but to see this new mix, it's looks so improved, right? But then the affordability is on the other side of the coin. So
Our planners are really good, but they may not have all of the cost economics. So just when you put the homes together, putting up the extra roof and all the other, a regular modular home these days is about $400,000 to $500,000 just to do a regular modular home. That's why I was just reading a report from Prestige yesterday, and they've been talking to all the competitors, how busy they are. Not busy. No, none of them, in this housing crisis, they're not busy because the cost is so high, and people can't afford it. So that's why you hear Glenn and I always talk about costs, and that's probably, but maybe, maybe it's, we get started and then sort of see what type of flexibility we have on the next phase, but I'm a little bit worried about doing that sort of more modular one, in where the cost will be probably well over $200,000. Would be my gut feeling without doing the math on it. And then I think I worry about us putting it there as a spec, not selling. Folks back home saying, we shouldn't do that again.
Can I just get clarity on that? That the semi-detached unit, you'd be selling individual sides, right?
Yeah.
And you think each side would be 270 as opposed to 200 with the ones that have extra windows, extra siding?
So just because there's a fair, when we bring those homes together, you gotta put the, you gotta put the roof is more expensive, a lot more site work on site, to pull them up. So costs are going up for sure. Then you gotta put HST on top of that and so on. So costs will go up for sure on those two price points. Unless we had more time to sort of figure out how do we get the costs back down. So that's where we've got to get a bit more grinding if we're going to work back at our shop, if we're going to do that.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to start by saying thank you for coming tonight and showing such an interest in building our town. You find, I don't think you'll find more people interested in this committee of getting things developed in this town. I'm really excited about the project next door. But I appreciate that you guys live and breathe this. You know, I appreciate the amount of effort that you're going in to look at the market to make sure it's successful. Like the other councillors, I'd like to see a little variety, but I also appreciate the fact that we know that you have to hit that price point to make that whole development, because there's a lot of potential on that land over there to make successful. So, my one question is the original development agreement. Would that be for the 10 units or the 4 to the 6, or has that been
For the 10.
The 10?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's just talking about the rollout that would occur between,
Okay.
say, this fall, put 4 to 6 on there, get them in the market next spring with whatever feedback, we can do the last ones there. And, you know, we talked about with the backyard suites, if we make something like that work and they're pre-sold, you know, someone will pay the price point to have that, then that, I think that's a way to make some change too, so. Yeah, I think that there's a real potential there, so.
Mr. Chair, my initial question or comment was in no way meant to impair what was previously discussed, but I just got excited about it. But I am much in favor of the development and working with the Shaw Group. I think you're very credible, and I think you've been easy to deal with in the last year and a half, and I think it's onward and upward, but maybe we'll try for that mix as we're going along, though.
I do, and we can work on that as we learn the market. An image just popped in my head when we were talking. We have meet with John Moore and Paula Flush tomorrow, one of our developments in Mount Hope. And you definitely wouldn't like Mount Hope. Because we've got probably 100 units in there and they all look the same. So, and they're looking for another 300, almost all the same. So, I don't know, Truman Bell, it's for all the same. This whole community is going to be pretty much all the same. But we're hitting a price point that no one else can hit in Halifax. So we're providing a lot of houses for folks that would not otherwise have a house. So that's a little bit of the trend, but it's going to be a nice community. They're all going to look the same. We gotta make sure you don't go drinking at night.
Mr. Chair, I think some of the, and I won't call it confusion, but some of the divergent from maybe from what we saw presented as the last go at the plan, you know, what the concept from Stephanie.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, my understanding was that we pushed Stephanie pretty hard last week as she was trying to go out the door to go on vacation. And I think we were mindful of this night tonight, the date, and she was leaving on vacation. And I know that our CAO, I believe, pushed her pretty hard to get these things done and get it before us today so we can, you know, not miss another month. And so I think what I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, is that, you know, you gentlemen probably had not had that chance to have that conversation with her about what that final plan, the concept that she was sending out to us entailed. And I think that therein lies some of the, if I want to use the word confusion that I'm hearing around what was presented to us as a PAC and what we're interpreting being said tonight. I, for one, I think as Bernie has said, think, you know, we need to start somewhere, and price point, you're the folks that know more about that than we do. You have a better sense of that. You're in the business. We're not. I'm quite confident, by the way, that when you roll this out, when we get those first ones there, they will be there and gone to market very quickly and picked up, and you will find from people that will come forward that what the needs are for the type of home and the price point and the size and style and so on that people will be looking for to put in that area of town. You know, let's face it, that's pretty prime real estate that we're talking about here. Location, how many places do you have that are, you know, that have access to a park, you know, at their back door, so to speak, and close to downtown and all those other amenities. So, I mean, it's got all of the attributes of what real estate needs to sell quickly, you know, in my opinion. So,
Location.
Don't take our, what may feel like defensiveness with the plan as defensive. I think the one thing I can assure you as we go along, we can be quite flexible in some of that. We're just a little nervous about that first little phase and testing the market. But I think we're always open to sort of sharing the data and then just sort of working in that collaborative way on how do we fill up the
Yeah.
nice spots, because I agree.
That's the goal, right? That's the goal. This is the beginning.
Momentum's the word.
Exactly.
That, we gotta get the right momentum.
Exactly.
If we come out the wrong way.
And you know what, I will also say, Mr. Chair, that what you are going to be doing is, I think you might have referenced it, but you're going to be doing a great service for other developers as well. Because if they're timid about testing the market and putting something up in Westville and seeing how it goes, you know, market-wise, you guys are going to do that for them. They're going to have that data as well, as you will, right? It's going to be open, it's going to be available. So I think it's where we want to be as a town, in my opinion. This is the start. It's ironic in a way because you were the first ones that approached us, I will say, from a large development, housing development sort of perspective a couple years ago, a year and a half ago, whatever it was. Others have come since. And we have one that's going to be coming to fruition, in the spring probably, down in Acadia, 24 units. But this will be the first test case, really. I agree, it's a test case, really is.
We did a test like this in Windsor, just outside of Windsor on the west side, but really in the town of Windsor. And it was a land lease community, and almost Prestige was supplying this developer almost overnight sales topped. And so we did some brainstorming with the developer to sort of say, how do we, let's try something. So it was like, let's try renting everything, the land and the building. We did that. It was $1,450 a month. And the guy that we had running on our side at the time, I would have said, you know what, we live in Nova Scotia, we can afford $1,450 a month in Windsor. Like that's not where the market is. Let's just try put a dividing wall and turn them into duplexes and see what happens. Almost overnight, we couldn't get them there fast enough. So we hit the right price point in the market.
Right.
And a huge need. And it was only $400 less, but the market just exploded. So for me, that was a really good lesson on how touchy it is for folks to afford either home or rent in Nova Scotia. $100 north or south of $1,000 a month is huge for folks in Nova Scotia. So that taught me a lot, and I think we'll learn lots here in Westville. And we'll sort of see, can we go even higher down the road, or do we have to go reduce the cost even more? We're gonna learn a lot, I think, in this first phase.
And you're promising us flexibility down the road.
So one of the things I just wanted to mention to PAC is that normally we would have spent more time kind of going back and forth on what we're trying to do, and some of these kinks and areas of, where we're not necessarily on the same page would have been worked out before getting to this stage. But what we're really trying to get to right now is a kind of not only goal congruence, but also just an understanding that the project is a pretty good fit. We've got some, small things to work out, I think mostly small things, and try to move it at the speed that you're looking for. I worry about October 1 just because of when September Council is, and you have to do an announcement of the adoption of a development agreement with a 14-day appeal period. So, we might be able to hit October 14 or 15, but not October 1. I just wanted to put that out there right now.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask for clarity? Glenn, you mentioned, you'd probably do 4 to 6 units to start with, probably more like 4, I'm guessing, because, we're 10 overall, so 4 would be a good starting point. What those particular units, what you would see of the plans that we've been shown, what those 4 would possibly look like,
Yeah.
Size-wise and style-wise.
Can you get the screen back up?
And I just turned the lights on again, so.
Anyway. I wanted to be able to see what you
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, may as well turn the other one off too, honestly. It helps a lot.
That's better. And they can see online as well?
It is online.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so, I got this thing turned off. So these are single-story modular. They're on screw piles. So typically modular homes go on concrete block. It's the most efficient way to do it from a cost point of view. However, if we're going to sell these, to sell them what they call as real property, and a bank recognizes it as real property, you put them on screw piles, and then it's considered a legitimate foundation from the National Building Code.
Yeah.
So then a person can actually go to the bank, and they'll own their own PID, and they'll be able to get a mortgage, a proper mortgage on the home, being on screw piles. These are 16 by 36, 576 square feet. There's the floor layout. It's I can't even see this very. Oh yeah, so this one here has a front door. You get your living space here, bathroom, and 2 bedrooms. One just a little larger than the other, and you got your kitchen. This one is showing a bit of a, what do you call those things?
Peninsula.
What's that?
Peninsula?
Yeah, but it doesn't. It doesn't have the peninsula on it, so I get you a more up-to-date version, but for some reason this one's showing that. That's the floor layout, so they're 2 bedroom. So one of the pieces of flexibility would be, would someone prefer to have a bigger 1 bedroom? Like if you, as you go down that path, you bring some 2 bedrooms in first. Someone says, see, I don't, I'm a single, I need a place to live. I don't need a second bedroom. I'd rather have 1 bigger bedroom. So those are the types of things you can do with the floor layout. So.
Interesting, sorry, just on that, the feedback we got today from the project in Glasgow was that folks are liking the 2 bedroom one. So couples, maybe one's working from home, so they use one for an office or whatever,
Yeah.
or they have one kid. So the 2 bedrooms
Yeah.
for young families, whether it's another kid or with a kid, seems to be sort of a bit of a hit.
Yeah, so this would be this is the ask here, this is the layout that,
That's the layout, so would the exteriors be the same on all of them, on the first
Yeah.
floor, let's say?
other than the, so that they'll come in full units now. I believe they told me they can even do different colors, because what happens, they come in as a 74-foot unit, we cut them in half.
Okay,
I would have thought,
Be all different colors,
yeah.
different colors.
unless you want the whole set.
No. And so, another question, just very quickly, so as far as where they're positioned on the 1 acres,
Yeah.
I'm guessing that they wouldn't be 4 together, because the idea was to stagger the setbacks and the type, the size of the homes, that they wouldn't all be the same in a row. Is that fair?
Yeah, due to civil, it'd be these first 4 right here, moving up the street.
Okay.
These first 4 right here, so.
Okay.
Right from your exit, so,
So the first 4 would be together, all together.
yeah. Each with his own PID.
Yeah.
Just
I
on-
liked the plan that we saw, and I don't know whether it came from Stephanie or it came from Sean. I'm guessing it might have come from Sean, I don't know. That, there was a sort of a progression of similar units. So you had A, B, C, and then you could go again, A, B, C, or whatever.
So that was written into the development agreement?
Yes.
And I think Stephanie may have been using that elsewhere too, because we wouldn't be the first to want some variety in structures, and so that's actually built into the agreement.
I'm just thinking of from a marketing perspective down the road as well, that it's just that the curb appeal of having that separation of variations. And I know it presents a little bit more difficulty as far as, bringing those first 4 in and
So I'm not
having
clear.
them spread out.
It's not clear what you're referring to, the question. So.
Well, maybe I'm not being,
So I can see
obviously-
the ABC, I can see this ABC thing that she did here with the decks, and then I can see it repeat. It's hard to see in this image, but she's repeating the decks. I don't see the colors repeating in the ABC formula.
No, and
on
it's
this-
not
on
written
this.
that way.
Yeah, on the-
It's written so that there can't be repeating within 2 units of a unit that has one style. You don't see that unit again with that same style until a few units further along. And it's a bit complex. I'm hoping that we can simplify it a little bit. But, moving the units back and forth a little bit, different kinds of entrances, different colors, those are the sorts of things that were being played with to create that variety and to let, give people an option of.
I think the setbacks were like a foot different, right?
Well, you can see it here from the aerial,
Yeah.
how they're all a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
a brief comment, or I guess it's a comment. It's shifting gears from the curb appeal. We've talked about that at length here. I think we can all generally agree that we'd like to see some variety, whether it's just different colors, different decks. Really did like to see that original or that new proposal kind of thing that we saw. My one question shifts gears completely different, and it's on location itself. And I guess it's between, through the development agreement, how it gets addressed. I've only read just some anecdotal opinions on sightlines on that hill and turn, and not really quite demonstrated by, any surveys that it's safe on that blind hill and turn to have 10 driveways stacked in 340 feet. So I guess through the development agreement, I'd like to just see some little more teeth to it, that removing some of that berm, removing some of that vegetation, consideration to snowbanks, that it is appropriate to have 10 units kind of right there. Just because I don't see it yet. I know we're early days, but even maybe having those first 4 at this far end would allow a little bit more time as well to consider the rest of that. So there's definitely some value in doing 4 versus 10 that I'm definitely hearing today. So.
Mr. Chair, if I
Yeah.
might. Not that this answers or addresses your question, Councillor McGregor, but Mr. Day, Chief Hobeck, and Public Works, Mr. Avery at Public Works all walked the site today. With an eye to the safety issues.
Yeah.
We have on record now the traffic authority
Right.
identifying safety issues at both ends of the site. And we did talk about the mitigation strategies that Mr. Day has been discussing with the Shaw planners, which includes shaving about a couple of meters off the knoll that
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
And in discussions with the chief, the police chief today, obviously we haven't actually can't physically do it, but from our walk through of the site, the chief was convinced that that kind of mitigative strategy would give the 200 feet of clear line of sight that is necessary to allow, to keep people safe. His additional recommendation was that the town install a hidden driveway sign in advance of that.
Yeah.
And so then that's on the one end. On the other end, it is, Glenn, would you mind putting up your thing again? Just wait, I can do it. No. Can you flick to one of your other, you have the overhead of the whole area, like Victoria Park and,
Katie Park.
or Victoria Park.
Oh,
this
sorry.
one. So it's
yeah.
it's the intersection there
right, yeah.
that is a little, for lack of a better technical term, it's a little goofy.
Yeah.
And
Can you say roundabout?
yeah. So the traffic authority's comment was the yield part of that intersection that goes onto Drummond Road when you're heading towards Stellarton presents a bit of a problem potentially for the first couple of units there, and because you could have somebody whipping around the corner as you're trying to back out.
Yep.
And so his recommendation was that the town square up that intersection and make it a more normal intersection.
That makes sense.
Which would involve kind of shifting there's that kind of triangle piece and shifting that off to the right-hand side. And those mitigations, one on one end and one on the other, from his perspective, would go a long ways to improving the safety aspects that you're talking about.
Yeah. I guess my only comment to that is, in all due respect to the chief and the traffic authority in their position, standing on the sidewalk in 2024 and thinking that shaving, but demonstrating that it is through surveys, are two totally different things. I mean, it's more, again, it's anecdotal opinion as opposed to, you know, some measurements from qualified people to make that, you know. Yes, his position as traffic authority, he can say that, but I still would, you know, before we got to shovels in the ground, like to know that that most certainly is, because that's a huge, you know, that's a huge concern that I have, so. I think we can get through that. It's more just for the record between, you know, the planner and folks, and I may be the only one on PAC that shares that.
No, I agree with you, but I also know that starting with the 4-6 unit,
Yeah.
right, we'll know how advanced this plan's going to be,
Right.
and how far we can go down that,
Yeah.
towards that knoll.
I don't see that, Mr. Chair, as any insurmountable problem with going with the first units as indicated. And if it means more shaving and other remedial efforts down the road, they can always be done. We don't want to hold up a project in any way over something like that, I believe.
So the first 4 units just would be at the, at this end, basically.
Yeah.
What you're saying, closest to Queen.
The civil work has to move its way up the street, so.
Yeah.
That,
Right.
That seems logical to me.
Right, yeah.
I'm not a civil engineer, so.
None of us are.
If it proves that the proposal of, you know, removing that kind of right turn ramp and creating a more normal intersection there is the right way to go, that's a bit of work to have that take place. And given your objectives of getting going as fast as you do, I wonder if we could move down a little bit down the road so that we wouldn't be backing out into that intersection straight from day one. Just tossing that out as something to consider.
Oh, I see. Start like
One
yeah.
in or 2 in.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I see what you mean.
Maybe what we have
Doing.
to do is sort of tie all that stuff together, maybe have the.
Oh, they gotta do the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe takes the measurements and sort of see where we start, because I'm guessing to do that, you probably want to do it all at the same time. If you're moving it around, you may have to cut and fill and do it at once versus do bits and pieces. So I think it's understanding the traffic and the safety issues right up front, and then have the engineers sort of do the proper engineering right at the start.
I think that makes a great deal of sense, particularly where we have to cut across that intersection to get to the sanitary sewer. And so
Yeah, it's all-
you want to do all of that at the same time.
Yeah, you have to start at the beginning.
You start tomorrow?
Now, there's only a small island to get rid of there, which our garden club plants in, so it would be one less place. There would be 9 places for us to plant rather than 10, so
There you go.
it's taking some work away from
Larry, I'm
us.
designing a brand new entrance to Victoria Park as we speak.
Take that away, add more.
We don't want to hold these guys up for too long.
So, Mr. Chair, just through you to Sean, what would our next steps be on this matter?
So we do, as I mentioned earlier, have a couple of loose ends, and probably there's going to be some back and forth between Shaw Group and us. What we're hoping to do tonight, though, is based upon the agreement that you've seen, have the comfort that you're able to recommend to go to have council determine to go to a public hearing. And so that's going to be a 2-step dance that we would have to do. And we're also going to be, based upon the outcome of our discussions tonight about public participation, we need a bit of time to notify the people in the area that this is being considered. I don't see that we can get to we can't do a public hearing in August, so the public hearing would have to be in September. And so that's what we're trying to hit, is that target, is end of September, which gives us plenty of time to sort out, you know, the odds and ends that
The
are.
next step would
currently-
be on Monday evening at our council meeting, if the recommendation comes from PAC.
Right.
to move forward with the public hearing
Correct.
on the DA.
Mr. Chair, I for one would be in favor of advertising, having special meetings in order to,
Right.
you know, I don't want anything for this committee or our council for that matter to slow any of this down. So is there anything we can do to speed up this process or keep your timeline? I'd be more than willing to,
That's my attitude as well, Mr. Chair.
I think we're all agreed on that.
Same, yeah.
There's no reason why we can't, as long as we have the time that's required for the notifications, right? And so my I think the suggestion I'm hearing would be after Monday, when we, you know, have the motion, to set it in motion, that the time starts there, right? We can start from that time and go out, and then we can schedule our meeting based on when that time that's required ends, correct? It doesn't have to be our next regular scheduled meeting, I guess is what I'm saying.
we're flexible.
Council can choose to have a public hearing when it wishes.
Right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
just
I
follow
mean,
the
you'll
required
see the
timelines.
paper that just got passed around to you. if
Oh, yeah,
I-
so let's have a look at what you're passing around. Maybe that'll help.
Well, and so, you know, it's one of many approaches. There is a date in that document.
Okay.
It doesn't, there's nothing magical about the date that's on the document, other than it is your next meeting when we know that everybody is available in advance, and we can drive to that date. But if I think as Councillor McGregor suggested, you know, if you want to have a special meeting to do that, then you're free to do that. Or, sorry, maybe it was the deputy mayor. who was
That's
deputy
okay.
mayor. Sorry about that.
And it's just simply changing it on or before September 30th, right? Because we really don't want to go
Is
past that.
Mr.
Could do that.
Mr. Chair, it would in fact be a week earlier if we are all supposed to be available for the Committee of the Whole, which would be a week before the date that's in here. That might be helpful, or even a special meeting before that.
Yeah. So you need to have a public hearing.
It's a holiday.
Right? And, you know, you can do that before or congruent with a regularly scheduled meeting if you want. So, you know, there would be, the September 30th date is the date that's on the document in front of you. Cow would be 1 week before that.
So 30th is a holiday, just to remind folks.
Right.
We're backed up 1 week. 30th is a holiday.
Yes.
Oh my
and
God, I
20
forgot all about
We
Yeah,
that.
so
changed our
23rd.
council meeting.
So cow is 16th,
Right. Okay, so it
Yeah.
could be the 16th or it could be the 20, whatever it is,
23rd.
23rd.
Yeah.
On or before, as the deputy suggested, we can just change that in the proposed resolution, I think would handle it, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and then we just keep to the required notification time.
Whatever that
Yep.
Sean tells us those numbers are.
So Sean had mentioned necessary back and forth. Can that be fourth and
Oh,
as
yeah.
quick as possible?
I'll just stop working on all the other stuff.
We can,
There you go.
if when we get to council, we authorize some overtime for our planning director, maybe we can make that happen.
Your Honor, it would be more helpful if you could authorize cloning.
Yeah. We're that way with every
Yeah.
member of staff in this town, I can tell you that. That's what we need to come
Or
up
just
with.
tell my other clients that I'm not going to be available for them for the next while.
Absolutely.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, we're
He's,
fine
he's
with
young enough to burn the midnight oil.
So, Mr. Chair, if, I don't often get the opportunity to make motions because I generally chair all the council meetings, so if you allow me the opportunity, I will make a motion. I will move this resolution. Whereas the Shaw Group Clayton Developments has submitted an application requesting approval of a development agreement that would allow the construction of 10 units of for sale housing on Drummond Road. And whereas Westville Planning Advisory Committee has reviewed and discussed the application in detail, I think that's true, and has found the application to be appropriate and largely in order. Therefore, it is recommended that Westville Town Council approve bringing proposed development agreement forward for public review and comment at public hearing to be scheduled on or before September 30th, 2024.
I will second
so
that.
moved.
I will second that
Seconded.
motion.
Motion was moved and seconded. Question?
Question.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I like the on and before part as well.
Yeah.
Good for planning.
Where Stephanie's away, will I be dealing with Jared or Jared Deal? Jared Deal?
So I was going to say, Mr. Chair, I was going to say before Glenn and Dean leave, so we've set our timelines, and now we're just going to punt it over to you guys to move your timelines appropriately, so that we get those shovels going, right?
Take somebody back off vacation.
Just have
Kevin
somebody
Neat?
contact me right away.
I know
that
Kevin.
I'll be able to go back and forth with quickly. 'Cause
Remember Kevin Neat?
Oh, yes.
Or my school, Kevin Neat. Tell him Sarah McKinnon says that. I wouldn't necessarily add.
What's the last name?
Neat and E-A-T.
Haven't run into it.
We lived in Metro in those days.
This is
Thank you,
exciting.
Dean.
We're very excited, by the way. We're very excited, as you guys are, I know, to get this thing going. So let's go.
Thank you, Dean.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Glenn.
See you guys.
Appreciate it.
Onward and upward.
I think our regular scheduled programming froze.
Oh no.
I don't know, hold on. It may just be the internet
In here.
here.
See if that worked.
There we
Yeah,
go.
we're good. We're still working. We're online. Yeah.
I had internet drop out on me a couple times today. Just stopped for a few moments.
So I think it's still streaming usually, but just like I had the presentation up here so that we could see it, and it was frozen on
So
20 minutes ago. But it's still, we're still live.
I think we'll have to find a way to, for me to provide feedback to you on some of the little bits that aren't pinned down yet. And I've just learned some more that I thought were pinned down and which are not
Yeah.
as pinned down as I thought they were. So I'm gonna, probably what I'll do is I'll send to Scott via memos, some of the changes, and then he can relay them out to PAC
So,
and council.
yeah, so the information that you're gonna get, you know, so there won't be opportunity for additional discussion, but we'll feed you, and if we're missing something, if you're looking for something specific and we're not sending it to you, tell us, and we'll get what you need.
Fair enough.
And process-wise, Mr. Chair, I guess process-wise, there's still kind of like one final discussion at well, there's two, I guess. There would be at the public hearing and then ultimately
Approval of it,
approval at council.
At council, that's right.
At
Yeah,
council-
and so just, you know, I guess,
site plan.
guess what I'm thinking then in terms of the process forward would be that on the 23rd, we would schedule the public hearing for the 23rd, starting at 6 PM, and then roll into the council meeting following the public hearing. And that would give you a chance to hear the input of the public, digest it quickly, and then
Make a decision.
an opportunity to make a decision, one way or the other, that same evening.
Right, and just as a reminder, when it comes to the point where council is offered the opportunity to vote on entering an agreement, you don't have to enter exactly the agreement that was put before you. You can make suggestions for change, as long as they're not too major and don't require going back to the drawing board, right? So you can say, we agree with all of this, however, based on what we've heard, we're going to delete this clause, or we're going to add a clause, or something along those lines. And then that forms part of the public record. It gets entered into the agreement, provided all parties agree, and it goes forward on that basis.
Oh, yeah, at a public hearing, if, you know, anyone can come with a suggestion or a comment that may change, you know,
Right.
what we want to do.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, I just have one quick question, and Mr. Day, this is my first draft agreement that I've ever looked at here, so I was looking at the maintenance, 3.10. At what point, so the developer shall maintain and keep in good repair portions of the development, including but not limited to the exterior of the building? Is that until the point of sale and then
Yes.
okay, very
Yeah.
good.
And I think that is in there somewhere where I speak to that
Okay.
any clauses that apply to the lots and the buildings, once a new person owns them, they are responsible for those. And at some point, we'll probably want to discharge the agreement and just not have an agreement. It will just become regular housing, and then, you know, normal bylaw provisions would apply at that point. But it's a great question, and this is a bit of a funny project in a lot of respects. It's not like, you know, when someone is building a 10-unit residential building and they're going to be maintaining it going forward in perpetuity. They're going to be shoveling the snow, dealing with the garbage, all of those things. this is a funny beast because it's going to be built by this agency. They're going to build all of them over the course of time and sell them. Maybe they'll decide to rent them. We don't know, and we're not going to tell them they can't rent them. But
There'll be 10 individual owners at some point.
right, yeah.
Well, whoever
So-
is going to be owning it is going to be responsible for the
Right.
upkeep and care.
It could
so-
also sell to someone who, say, buys 3 or 4 of them and rents them out. So,
Yeah.
like, there's so many
It follows the
permutations and
ownership, yeah.
combinations that.
To be determined.
Yep.
Okay. Let's roll.
Participation. Think we're-
All right,
Number 8.
moving on, public participation program policy update.
Right. So did we do paper copies for everyone on that? So while I was sailing to Newfoundland, I gather you guys did make a motion adopting our earlier draft. It unfortunately didn't include some comments from Municipal Affairs. And on further reflection after looking at their comments, I've proposed something that is pared down substantially, but in conjunction with a resolution to deal with some of the things that got removed. So what I want to just briefly talk about is the fact that Section 204 and 205 of the Municipal Government Act talk about public participation. It's a program that we adopt by policy, and it is only to do with what are called planning documents. And when you hear that term, you might think that means development agreements. It could mean any number of things, but it in fact is defined quite closely to just municipal planning strategy changes, land use bylaw changes that implement the planning strategy changes. So it's actually very limited. It doesn't even apply to, for example, a development, or a rezoning, for instance. So that is a change to your land use bylaw in effect because you're changing the zoning map. But because there are already policies in place that enable that, it doesn't get taken in under the planning document definition and doesn't result in the public participation program being enacted for that consultation. So I know, it's kind of odd. And development agreements can have major impacts, and they don't constitute a planning document either, under the definition contained in the MGA. So what I've done is I've taken that and said, okay, we're gonna toe the line with respect to planning documents and sections 204 and 205. We're gonna give ourselves a bit of latitude because you could be looking at a very small municipal planning strategy change and land use bylaw amendment, maybe even just to fix something that was a mistake. I don't know that you, in that case, need to take the time and go to the trouble of having one or more public information meetings before you deliberate on that at a public hearing. So I've essentially said, we're going to advertise that, we're going to make everybody know about it, and only where council believes, and this could come from PAC because it consists of all of council or includes all of council, if council or PAC feels that this really would merit having a public meeting or several public meetings, then we choose to do it. So we've given ourselves the ability to make that differentiation between relatively minor things and major things. And then for all of the things that got left out, they're not in this policy because this policy is only to do with planning documents. So what I've proposed, for the time being at least, is the resolution, which Scott has drafted this afternoon, saying, look, when we do a site plan approval, we do a couple things. Actually, let me back it up even further. When we do a variance, we notify everyone within 60 meters. The MGA only requires 30, but for reasons that I don't understand, even on something as small as a variance, we send it out even further. When you step it up to the site plan approval, there's that requirement that you notify everyone around it within 60 meters, and you also post a sign on the property. Interestingly, for a development agreement, we don't have those requirements, either of them. And a development agreement can potentially have more of a local impact than either a site plan approval or a variance. And so what the resolution effectively says is that we are going to treat this with the same kind of public consultation, sign and letter, as we would a site plan approval. So those are the two parts. We've got the policy, which enacts the program, the public participation program, which is all about planning documents. And then for the things that don't fit that, but which we deliberate and make decisions on, such as rezonings, development agreements, and things like that, we have a resolution that says this is how we're going to treat them. So that's what we've pitched out to you.
So what you're saying, we'll have a consistent plan across the board?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, we were rightly called out on that at that very feisty meeting when someone said, look, you know, where's the sign? How come we didn't get a letter? And it's like, well, our policy doesn't require it. And so we committed that night to fixing that. And so we are also, I think, I wasn't, you know, operating with the town at the time, but I think that Municipal Affairs said something out a year or more ago saying anyone who doesn't have a PPP right now needs to get one in place. And so we're getting that done and also being fair and more transparent in our deliberations on things that aren't planning documents.
Mr. Chair, to bring it to a head, I could make the motion. Whereas the Municipal Government Act sets out the processes and procedures for the review and approval of planning documents, and whereas Westville Town Council values the input and comment on proposed developments from these residents, or those residents most likely to be impacted by a development. And whereas council is striving to provide Westville residents with consistent and rational public participation notice and opportunities, therefore it is recommended that Westville Town Council apply the public participation principles and procedures that apply to site plan approvals when council reviews development agreements and rezoning requests, and I so move.
I'll second that.
Motion was moved and seconded. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried.
So that was for the resolution. We still need the policy, the revised policy. So we need a separate motion on that. Because that resolution didn't include
the policy.
Right.
And I didn't prepare one for that. So we'll have to wing it.
Wing it.
Well, there was a policy that was approved last month, right? And so we've revised that based upon new information to better conform to the Municipal Government Act requirements. And so I suppose that the motion would be something along the lines of, you know, in light of recent information concerning the policy previously adopted at the, what was the date of the last, July 29th, July 29th. We hereby recommend adoption of the revised policy.
So move.
Seconder.
Motion's been moved and seconded. All question? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Those against? Motion carried.
I had thought that I would somehow magically have time to go and read what I've done so far in terms of writing the planning report, but that time disappeared over the course of the last little while. So instead of giving a broad overview, I think it's just tabled until the next meeting, if that's okay with everyone.
All right.
I could tell you about my trip to Newfoundland, though, if anyone would like to hear about it.
Well, you
It
didn't
is.
bring the card home.
I've got a picture of me with a really big cod, like 4 feet.
Yeah, they, good size.
No, it wasn't anything like that. I was just asked some people if I could take a photo in their backyard, and they'd just been out doing the personal fishery. And they said, "Have you seen cod like this?"
So
I
we're
know
going,
I'm really hard, like, whoops.
Nice to see big ones back.
we're going to comprehensive development,
Yes.
we're skipping this.
We just did that.
CDD.
Okay,
CDD?
so
Oh, yeah.
with respect to the CDD, this is a planning document. And so what I would suggest we do, we can go through it tonight if you like. It hasn't changed much since what you have seen in the past. we now, based upon our policy, are going to send information out to people, giving them the opportunity to provide written comment on it. We can also, if we feel that this is an important enough change, have a public information meeting. In this case, where there is no pre-zoned land with this, I think it would be safe to not do the public information meeting, because there will be meetings going forward when someone applies to rezone to CDD.
And those CDDs, they'll be, those developments will be approved under a development agreement.
Correct.
And all the processes that come underneath
Correct.
that. So in my mind, we have the flexibility of developing, but still the control of the development agreement, which gives the control to citizens to have their input as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to confirm this, oh yeah, sorry, we turned that off. Just to confirm for notice with this, where, would this go just town-wide or like just on the Facebook page, or, because it doesn't apply to any specific thing at this juncture, it's just
Right.
creation of the new tool in the toolbox to
The-
potentially be applied at a later date.
That's right,
to-
and that tool would be applied only to those places where there are, you know, significantly
Absolutely,
sized
yeah.
properties,
Yeah.
right? So this
Yeah.
isn't for somebody's
No, that's right.
one unit, it's for,
Large
it's
chunks.
for multiple, where multiple
Yeah.
dwellings would be involved,
Yeah.
right?
And only after a rezoning process.
Yes.
Through,
Right.
as Councilor Murphy just.
So
Correct.
my recommendation, I guess, to council or to PAC would be that we post it on the website and on the Facebook page and invite people to submit with a deadline for submission, you know, kind of a couple weeks out sort of thing, and then bring it back there to council.
Is there a requirement for a hearing for this at all, or first
Yes.
reading? Yes, there is.
Yeah, this is done as a bylaw, so there's first and second reading.
Right.
It is a
Yeah.
bylaw.
Yeah.
So can we move to that stage?
Yeah, so-
Recommendation from PAC to council?
We can do, as I understand it, we can do first reading, but we can't advertise for a public hearing until we've completed the public participation program. So if in this instance, the public participation program is to give notice to the public that we're considering it, seek written comment, get that comment back within a time frame that we've established that's reasonable, and then I guess perhaps Scott and I would draft a report to council, so they would have in hand, before they post notice of going to a public hearing, the fact that we've sought, you know, public consideration on this and a report on that. So that's kind of the process going forward. And again, we'll keep everyone up to speed on this. This one, I mean, we do want this one to be implemented fairly quickly, but we also have just agreed to a process for transparency and for public engagement that we need to, you know, pay attention to. So the motion tonight could be just first reading, to have it go to first reading for council.
That we recommend to council for first reading, CDD.
That we can do next week.
Yeah, for Monday.
To start the process on the mail, yeah, okay. Mr. Chair, I would make that motion that we recommend the first reading to council for the CDD.
I'll second that.
Motion is moved and seconded. Question?
Question?
All-
Question?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. Moving on to Dalhousie Planning Student Study.
Right. So I don't know that have I spoken about this at all at this point? I don't know that I have. Let me just finish a note that I've got to make about that motion.
In the meantime, I guess I can probably start. Mr. Day reached out to the planning school at Dalhousie, and they have, at both the undergraduate and graduate level, they do what they call workshops. Is that what they call? I think that's what they're called, workshops, that involve the students, the planning students, coming out and actually getting their hands on real planning issues or problems, and then working over the course of a semester or two to solve those real-life problems and bring forward to the client, which would be a municipality or whatever, the solutions that they've come up with. And so the upside for the students is they are not learning about planning from books and lectures, but they're actually out solving real-life problems. Mr. Day had the presence of mind to kind of stick up the Westville hand and say, pick us, pick us, pick us. We had a couple of conversations with the head of the school, or maybe not the head of the school, but the fellow responsible for that program. And they did select us in the end to do that. So we have meetings starting in September to kind of organize what it is we will be having those students do. The cost to the town is pretty minimal. It's basically getting the students here and then back home again. And so, we'll have to sort out, is it a bus, is it a couple, do we rent a couple cars, whatever, that sort of thing, to get the students to and from. And they'll appear before council and probably PAC to kind of discuss their work and what it's going on. Is that how close to truthful am I?
That's all very truthful. So yeah. So there was actually a call for interested municipalities that I responded to, and I did a request to be considered. And just briefly, the project overview was that they do a strength and weakness, opportunity and threat analysis of kind of the downtown, that they devise policy for a vibrant, walkable downtown, that they consider the residential area around the downtown as they think about this, because they should work hand in hand. And that in terms of deliverables, there would be a report on the SWOT analysis. And I thought of the SWOT analysis because retail has changed so much. So the old kind of Main Street that, we have in our minds is really hard to replicate now because retail is so difficult. And I also didn't want them to repeat the same things that were done in the Main Street program and by all these other organizations that kind of all done.
Transportation.
Well, that definitely comes into this, that feeds into this. And also,
Had studies on that as well, as you
Pardon
know.
me?
And I think we're going to be getting a report from.
Absolutely. No, that is very much part of this program. So there would be a policy recommendations report, an implementation plan, a stakeholder engagement summary, and a presentation. It may not look exactly like this. This is what I pitched to them. And when we met, we actually met with one of the instructors who teaches the honors level students and one who teaches the master's level students. And they're right now considering having both of them look at this. So the honors would be first. They would do the first bit of groundwork on this, and then we would have, as we kind of see where we need more work, we could have the master's level students come and do a second part based upon the first part and what we learned in that period. So this would occur over, between September to December would be the first part, the honor students, and then after Christmas we would do the next part. So we would have, I think, something quite interesting in hand by next spring. All of which is very handy as we, start to work on creating our own MPS and LUB.
How often would they be in town?
Not very often. No, there's probably only 2 visits
Yeah.
for each session. One would be the original groundwork and meeting with teams and stakeholders.
Just trying to think how many,
Yeah.
trips
And
we
then-
have
and then a
to,
report
we have to
back.
finance between here and
And
Halifax.
they,
Dalhousie, like in Toronto, that campus there.
no, it's not,
Dalhousie,
it's the
Halifax.
Dalhousie and Halifax. And they're quite excited about the opportunity, not only to present to council and in front of the public, but also, this is real to us. And, they've got to amp up their game. They have to understand that we're counting on them to do real work. This isn't, kind of a hypothetical. This is a real thing.
The profs made a point of saying, we want you to treat them like real staff, that they're real consultants with real timelines and real expectations of quality and accuracy and those sorts of things. So I think it's an interesting opportunity for us to get something done and to give back to, at some level, to provide an opportunity for young planners to learn from kind of real life situation.
Mr. Chair, before we go on, Councilor McGregor just mentioned something to me that I don't have the minutes from last month's meetings, but I do have the agenda. And on the agenda, it did say that we had comprehensive development district zone policy and bylaw first reading on the agenda.
Yeah.
Right, so we kind of might have duplicated our actions.
Were there
there.
changes since last pack, though? I guess, is that what we were discussing?
There probably are some subtle changes, nothing major.
Nothing major. Yeah, so we did.
Again, I'm trying to pare things back as much as I can to kind of get, and it takes, it's
So we
easy
moved-
to.
we
So
moved it-
if you're all right, then with that, what we can do is now set the date. We've got first reading, we can set the public hearing date and
Yeah.
move to second
It
reading.
saves us like 5 days in the grand scheme of
Sure.
things, right?
Yeah.
But,
That's good.
duplication of the process more than anything.
So
Yeah,
mostly
and
it's, the date will be dependent upon what we set for the public participation timeframe.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Because we're gonna put it on our website, we're
Yeah.
gonna say, look, here it is, you guys
Yeah,
have
and
this
I'm
amount of
thinking
time.
2 to 3 weeks in that zone-ish would be about
Right.
the right, for this level of thing. So, again, as I think the deputy mayor pointed out, this doesn't impact anybody specifically. It is writ large across the town. So, it doesn't change anything for any particular person at this point.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 12, update.
Nothing really on the MPSLUB amendment, apart from the fact that whenever I have a second, I get in and look at what we can take out to have our own version of what we've been using all along, the common land use bylaw and the intermunicipal planning strategy, because there's a bunch of things in there that have no application whatsoever in Westville. And it's a 180-odd page document, so anything we can pull out of it is great. That helps it in terms of usability and just sheer weight. Truro Road projects. So on my desk today, it would have been there last week, except it got sent to the wrong planning office. I have the application for approval of the subdivision that will allow the first round of buildings to go on the semi-detached buildings, to go on those lots on the side of the entrance to the bigger development. And so we're moving forward with that, and I don't know that I have the application yet to start the rezoning process, but I did say to them, I'm kind of bogged down right now with some other things. It may not happen overnight, because once we do that rezoning, then they can put in, re-subdivide and put the line down between the units so that people can buy them individually.
How many units are we talking?
In total, it's just 4. So 2 buildings, each of which has a separate unit attached with a common sidewall, and there will be a property line between that sidewall so that they could be sold individually.
Okay.
The other thing we're waiting to confirm is if they anticipated servicing the larger development across the back of these lots, in which case there'd have to be an easement. And they've decided that they're going to be fine running it up off the pavement in Truro Road rather than running across the back of the lots. On the other one, the development agreement is, I would say, 70% ready to bring to PAC, so I'm getting close on that. I would have been a little bit further had not this panic happened. So that's what I got.
Okay. Okay, delegations on issues or discussions arising from business or other business.
Mr. Chair, I just have something, I guess I'll do it on the delegations or whatever. I just wanted to, we're about ready to make some public pronouncements, or announcements, I should say, on the activity that's going on development-wise in town. I think we've already talked about one of them tonight, obviously. But the plan that we have, so PAC is aware, is to probably do a press release of some sort. If you're like me, you've been getting a lot of questions around, what are these things that you're talking about? What are these developments that you keep talking about and hearing about at council meetings, and, you know, the change that's coming and so on. So we want to address that with the things that we know, that we have some certainty on, at least anyway, that are going to be going forward. So tonight, you know, we already talked about the Shaw development, so that's out there, hopefully, through this meeting. You know, a couple months ago, and we referenced it here tonight, but the development down on Acadia Avenue, the 24 units there that are, you know, moving forward, and we'll be probably looking at a spring delivery start on those. Sean, is that fair?
I believe they're hoping to do groundwork and civil before Christmas, and
Right.
then start bringing in units as soon as they can get them, I
Right.
think, because it's just, there's a
Yeah.
backlog on
As
everything
early
right
in
now.
spring as possible, that
Yes.
the units will start arriving for Acadia Avenue, so that's another significant development, obviously.
Just on that, if I may,
Yeah.
the proponent for that project is hoping to make use of the town lot, which we will at some point in all likelihood sell. I believe we've made it surplus, so we are in a position that we can sell it. They would like that's the potential site of a semi-detached or a duplex house, that lot, but they would like to make use of it through the construction period, rather than using the road that they're having to build, which is fairly narrow. So this just makes laydown easier, it makes delivery of heavy materials easier, and those sorts of things. So I just want to put that out for as something that we'll likely be discussing in the near future.
Okay. So with that, and with the 10 units that we're talking about on Drummond from the Shaw Group, we're moving forward on those. The one that probably not everyone is aware of, and want to speak about tonight, is the former school, the former Highland Consolidated School property that I know we all get questions about repeatedly. At least I'm sure that you're the same as me. So I just want to, you know, for PAC's purpose and for public consumption, to indicate that we have moved quite a ways on that potential project. And it involves the Nova Scotia Cooperative Council, who have been involved in Cody's Place and a few other developments in the county that was referenced tonight. So they're looking at renovating the school building, taking possession of the school building and 3 or so acres in front of the school building for some future development, in addition to renovating the school building. And the school building will, they're looking at the potential of 80 units, rental units, 80 units that will be rental units in the existing building when it's completed. We are at the stage now where we have agreement, a high-level agreement at least, on a letter of intent that we're probably going to be hopefully signing within the next short time period. It's been through legal on both sides, and we'll get the legalese sorted out, and both sides, town and the cooperative, will be looking at signing that. So that's one project that a lot of people have been asking about. What are you doing with the school building? What's happening with the school building? I can tonight say that with a fair degree of certainty that this is what's going to be happening with the school building. It's going to be renovated by the cooperative council and turned into 80-some rental units. In addition to that, as I said, they're looking at acquiring 3 acres or so, the front part of the property, where there'll be some other housing development probably there, and they could go on at the same time as far as the activity goes. So it's going to be happening relatively quickly. With regard to that, there will be some activity on the property out there, not regarding this project, but as most people are aware, last year the province announced that we are getting a long-term care facility in Westville. The province is responsible for the selection of the site, and they're also responsible for putting the request for proposals and assigning determining who the provider will be. And most people are also aware that we've recommended as a town that the preferred site would be the property where the Highland School sits. And there's agreement from providers that we've talked to, that have talked to us, that that's the preferred location they would have as well. So what's going to be happening out there in the next few weeks, probably, at some point in the next few weeks, Tate Engineering is going to be undertaking some geotechnical investigations of the property. And they're doing that on behalf of one of the possible proponents of the long-term care facility that are in the business, that will be responding when the request from the province comes. This is the company that will be responding. They're ready to go, and to be totally ready, they want to be assured that the piece of land that they're looking at, which I can tell you is the property behind the school, probably most referred to as the soccer field, probably, that area is where we're talking. And there's going to be some activity there, similar to what I would think, similar to what happened in Acadia Park, with some drilling to look at compaction and so on, so that they're ahead of the game when the long-term announcement comes as far as who the provider is going to be. So those are pretty exciting things, and I think it moves us along in the process quite significantly from where we were a few months ago, even, and particularly where we were a year ago. There's been so many things going on, a lot of balls in the air, as Sean knows and speaks to, and I think it's good. I think it's a good policy for us to hopefully get that message out to citizens and residents, as these are the things that we know are going to be happening within the next year in particular, so that everybody's aware of that, to answer some of those questions that people have. And going forward, by the way, so people know, and we'll emphasize this as well, there will be a great deal of transparency. There will be a great opportunity for public engagement on all these matters. There's a process that we're mandated to do, but we intend to do even more than what is mandated by the Act, as far as engagement in the public and letting them know what's going on. And I know that the cooperative is very anxious to be involved in public engagement meetings prior to getting even to the development stage, agreement stage of having the necessary public hearings. They want to have, they've asked us to schedule meetings with the public so that they can come and present what their plans are and show people well in advance of even getting to the development stage, the fine legal stage of doing it. So people should be aware that those things are going to be happening hopefully much sooner than later. And we will put that out. So the plan that we have is to put that out in the form of a press release, so that people can have it available to them to know exactly what's going on. But I want PAC and members of council to be aware of the plan, and in case there was some concern about doing that from anyone moving forward. So that, Mr. Chair, is what I wanted to report.
Mr. Chair, a great summary of where we're at, for sure. But a lot of folks, and some maybe listening tonight, are not aware of the Cooperative Council, and will be wondering about its track record and so on. And the Cooperative Council is a proven entity.
75 years.
That has been in existence, I was going to say, for many years, but Your Worship, you have hit the nail on the head with the 75, and the track record is a good one of the Cooperative Council. So that's the only thing I'd like to add to what you've said.
Yeah, we're very fortunate, and this is, I think it's worth to state this too. We're very fortunate that the developers that we currently have that we're working with, Shaw's one example, the Cooperative Council is another, the Twin Rivers, Zones, all these developers are very capable and well-established developers. So we have great assurance, that when they say things are going to happen, it's going to happen, and that's something that we didn't have always. We've had some people make approaches to us, as a lot of members of the council in particular are aware in the past, that just had ideas and wanted to had thoughts of doing things, but didn't have the ability really, to, let's call it what it is.
The resources.
To do it, right? And all these developers that we're dealing with are bona fide, legitimate, well-established, capable developers of moving these projects forward, which is it's a great thing to have.
Good. All right, can we have a motion to go in camera?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor?
Did we all want to offer
Those
comments?
against?
Oh, unless,
Oh.
Mr. Chair, did you have any comments? Our
questions?
one citizen, Kurt,
Awesome.
Just, is there anything more with the communication tower?
That was what I was gonna ask.
Okay, let's go there.
nothing to worry.
The only thing I can say is we've received no application from them at this point, so they will apply when they apply, and it'll go through the appropriate approval process at that time.
Dave, before you leave, I think it was your suggestion at a meeting one night that it would be nice if the fire department left the Canadian flags up. I'm sure that was your, so I've been giving you the credit for that, because those flags are still flying, and I think the department has listened, and I'm so pleased when I drive down the streets.
Yeah,
and
they look great.
they look so great, and with the banners that are up of present fire fighters and those of yesteryears, I think it's quite significant, and it's a pleasing look.
And before we sign off, I just want to remind the public that we'll be having our 150th muster on Saturday with the memorial service, I believe, starting at 10 o'clock. And there's going to be a band from 1 to 3 in the afternoon with a barbecue. And so we'll have some neighboring departments come in and do some demonstrations on different things. And we'll be doing a demonstration on Vehicle X ourselves. So there'll be lots of activity around the fire hall on Saturday.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Today and council and back and I could continue working on a child care center for the town would be great too.
Right, thank you.
You're gonna be pleased about that one too, David, I think.
All right, we have a motion on the table. Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried.
We still on